Hi there, my friends and many strangers. This is Bill, the writing and reading doctor. Today, I'm going on a video series helping you ninth grade teachers prepare your students for the expository test on Tuesday. By the time we're done with these 4 videos, you'll see 1 personal, 1 hypothetical, 1 current event, actually 2 current event examples, and I'm going to talk about how to decide which one to keep, and then 1 historical event example based on the topic, read about the importance of honesty, or read about how honesty causes trust. That's a cause and effect relationship it could be. And so that means your students have to talk about honesty and how it does or does not result in a trust relationship between 2 people or a team. Write about, for persuasive, write about whether or not honesty is the best policy. Write about which is more important, honesty or kindness, because sometimes they can't be together. So today's example is going to be a current event from news, magazines, articles, newspapers, a song, a movie, a show, a book, anything that the students have seen or heard during their lifetime. It can even be from another classroom, such as a Texas, US, world history event, something scientific related. We've been saying with COVID, follow the science. So we can talk about honesty in science and how that's affected us the last couple of years. So let's take a look at our essay. But right before we do, since several of you purchased my advanced English language arts reading and writing folders over the past several months, I wanted to remind you of the left-hand portion that gives you a guide that I designed straight from the expository rubric for adults. On this right-hand side is the purpose of expository and the process that your students need to go through in order to get a 4. For those of you who are going to be teaching next year in any subject, 1 through 7 are the constructed type responses that will be the 25% or more questions that can only be answered in a non-multiple choice format. These all are going to be reading related, and then 8 through 11 and several of 1 through 7 can be for math, writing, social studies, and science. Okay. For a 2-point question, all they need is what's the answer to the question, red light, and where is it that I can find it in the passage? Why is it the answer? Notice it does not say restate the question. I just want to know what the question is so that I can answer it. So clearly state your thesis. If you're a 9th grader, your controlling idea from 5th grade to 7th grade, they'll call it that. From 1st kinder to 4th grade, you might call it a central idea. So do you have your wow? Because my company is called, as it says above, may the 4s be with you. We're talking about essays, and the right prescription, ELAR, if we're talking about reading and writing. So what is your hook, your wow, your attention getter? your words of wisdom, your whistle, whatever you write to get my attention. And we could have a heart or head beginning, my thoughts and opinions about the topic of honesty, or my heart, my feelings and emotions. You can also use the toes inside your feet to add some voice or spice with your idea. So you'll see me using a hook, a thesis statement, a reason with an example to get a two, and then I'll show you how to explain the examples by doing GPS, getting pretty specific, using what I call the 6 Ws+1. Who, what, when, where, why, and which are the 6 Ws. The +1 is the how. You can use any of those to explain an example and turn reasons and examples into threes because of development. If you want to turn it to a four, choose your words carefully. Use higher vocabulary and your voice, your toes, who you are on the inside. Make sure you clearly address the topic. Do you have any truisms? Do you have a theme, a life lesson that you can share with the reader as a reflection at the end? Can you share your opinions and thoughts throughout the beginning, middle, and end? Your emotions, can you tell them with higher vocabulary or show them with actions and body language and the things that come out of your mouth and your senses, the way you view the world? Speaking of the S, are you using your senses to let me see, hear, taste, touch, smell? Are you using the dialogue to help me get an idea of honesty and the importance of things that you say, helping with the topic of honesty? And the salsa just being, are you using some appropriate figurative language and higher vocabulary when it's appropriate? Are you ending by restating? Then that's a 1-2 paper because you're just repeating yourself. If you're rephrasing with 1 or 2 sentences, you might get a 2-3 because you're at least writing something different. If you're reflecting with a conclusion, there's anywhere between 3 to 5 sentences that have a theme, a life lesson, an extension that talks about how life can be different. Then you take your time to edit with cups with 2 S's, capitalization, usage, punctuation, spelling, and sentence boundaries, and then revising with arm. Is there anything that I should add, remove, replace, or move before I turn it in? So I'll show you in the second example, if you're not going to develop it enough, maybe you should remove it and just transition with your socks to your shoes to your conclusion. So instead of saying 2 reasons why, you would have 1 reason why, and with 1 example to explain it, to go from blue to green to greener and to greenest with all of these things here. So all of that is straight from the STAR expository writing guide that TS provided. It even says it on the student rubric, the prompt page. Clearly state your thesis, the first bullet. The second bullet, organize your essay. What does that mean? Give me reasons why and examples. Develop your idea effectively. That's the third bullet, or part of the second in some prompt pages. Choose your words carefully to get a 4. Check your essay for proper capitalization, usage, grammar, punctuation, and spelling. That's the ER, editing, revising. So there you have it. Just as a reminder, for those of you that have the hard copy, that's the folded version that I was showing you right there. For those of you that have the digital copy, it would be 4 sheets of 8.5 by 11. So this is a current, based on a current event from TV and another one from a book. Being honest at all times is like building bridges between you and others. Simile. Lying is like building walls. Simile. So using figurative language to get the attention of the reader. Telling the truth will create a bond and trust between you and the other person that will never be broken. That could be my thesis. Being dishonest makes people stop believing you, even when you are telling the truth in some case, in It should be in some cases. Sorry for my grammatical error. The good thing about grammatical errors, the paper doesn't have to be perfect in grammar, just strong. So the benefits of telling the truth and the problems that occur when you don't. Several years ago, I read a quote that said, honesty is the best policy. Doesn't have to say where the quote came from. It doesn't matter. At the time, I was too young to realize how true this is and what a value it is to have a friend who will always tell you the truth in life, not just what you want to hear. Last night on television, President Obama, so I wrote this several years ago, gave his State of the Union address. So you could plug in President Trump when he gave his and President Biden when he gave his. As our leaders, or leader, and if you're just talking about one, my prayer is that he or she in the future always tells the truth about what he or she thinks is best for our country and tries to lead us by following through on the promises that are made when he or she was trying to get people to vote for him or her. There is tremendous opinion pressure on leaders like him because unlike us as regular citizens, the entire universe is watching and will eventually find out if he makes promises that he doesn't keep. So the State of the Union says how we got where we're at right now, and where they hope to be for the next calendar year or so. So it's a rare quality, but when an elected official says he or she will do something to improve our country, then actually does it, there's a sense of pride to be an American that rises up within me. So I'm sharing from my own point of view and perspective. And it says the writer may choose to write from his own point of view and perspective. The essay is thoughtful and engaging. You're allowed to do that. At the same time, there are some that say things that are not true just to get people to vote for them, or even just to get people's attention. They are lying through their teeth idiom, but to them, being honest is just a suggestion, not one of the 10 commandments to follow as a lifestyle. The name of the commandments, so it's capitalized. One tremendous example of this is found in the Chick children's book I read several years ago. So since we're no longer talking about a president making promises, we're talking about a boy who cried wolf. This is where you have to decide, is there enough development of the example to include it, or should you eliminate it if it's not going to be developed enough? So let's check and see if it has somehow connects and relates to what happens when you don't tell the truth. The kid was desperate for attention, so he would suddenly start yelling that a wolf was coming, even though there wasn't. After doing this several times, verbal lying, people began to get annoyed, emotion, and completely ignored him actions because of annoyance. The one time there actually was a wolf coming to attack. Okay, so then you would help your students there from this part here, this line, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines were dedicated to explaining the setbacks that happen when you decide to lie to people for fun or just for attention. Transition to the ending. I don't want people to lose their trust or respect in me, so I've made it a practice in life to always be honest with everyone I meet at all times. And so sometimes your ending can be your own life connection. How are you a better person because of the thesis that you've given us? How has your world changed because of the decisions that you've made? Each person has to make his or her own decision to build bridges with honesty or walls with lies. And again, I've done what I did in the other essay. I've kind of tied back in the figurative wall or bridge that you make with people with each passing moment because of the things that you say and do. and sometimes the things you don't say and don't do. So we have one more left. Kind of get with your kids and think, what other leaders in any situation, a school, a classroom, a church setting, a mayor, what promises do they make? Judges, because you're allowed to pick anything you want from current events. And then what book also talks about the negative aspects of lying? Well, one that pops into my head is Pinocchio. You're going to literally have your nose grow if you use the fantasy book called Pinocchio to talk about the importance of telling the truth. Imagine in the real world if everybody who lied, their nose would grow or some physical change would take place. I think we'd have a lot less lying if there were some real tangible consequences for not telling the truth when we're communicating our feelings and thoughts with other people. Thanks. Please like the video in YouTube, share and like it on Facebook, and just be aware that in the same way you get 4 points from 2 different people in expository, you're going to get 5 points from 2 different people on your extended essay response. 3 of the points are going to come from how organized and developed the answer is. And the other 2 points are going to come 0 to 2 according to how well established the foundation of grammar is in the response. Because if there are too many mistakes of cups, capitalization, usage, punctuation, spelling, and sentence boundary problems, then that's going to affect the total grade, where you might only get 1 point for conventions because you maybe have great organization and development, but your conventions are weak. So you might get a 3 or a 4, or you could get a 2 or a 3 if they say, man, the conventions are so bad, it made it hard to understand some of the development. So because of the hindrance there, it's possible that you might only get 2 points from 2 different people out of that 10-point response. And so that one question for 3rd through 8th grade and next year, 9th and 10th as well, would only get like 4 points when you could get 10 for a perfect response. So there you have it. Hopefully that is helpful to you. God bless and enjoy the rest of your weekend.